The rain started just as Alexander stepped out of the charity gala. He hadn't even made it through the main doors before turning around and walking right back to his car. Another pointless evening of fake smiles and empty conversations. He loosened his tie as his driver opened the limousine door. "Home, sir?" Michael asked, holding an umbrella over Alexander's head. "Just give me a minute," Alexander said, sliding into the back seat. "I need to think." Michael nodded and closed the door, leaving his boss alone in the quiet luxury of the car. Alexander poured himself a drink from the bar and stared out the tinted window at the glittering building behind him. Inside, hundreds of wealthy people were pretending to care about causes they'd forget by morning. He used to enjoy these events. Now they just felt hollow. His phone buzzed. Another message from Richard, his board director. Alexander didn't need to read it to know what it said. The same thing Richard had been saying for months now. The investors want stability. They want a family man. They want someone they can trust with their money long term. Alexander took a long sip of his drink. At 35, he'd built Chen Technologies from nothing into a billion-dollar empire. He'd sacrificed everything for it. Relationships, friendships, any semblance of a normal life. And now, the very people who'd made fortunes from his hard work were demanding he find a wife and settle down. As if you could just order a family like you'd order office supplies. "You have 6 months," Richard had told him last week, his face serious. "Find someone, get engaged, show them you're committed to building something lasting, or we'll have to reconsider our position." It was insane. It was insulting. But it was also real. Without those key investors, his company could face serious problems. Competitors were circling, waiting for any sign of weakness. Alexander leaned his head back against the leather seat and closed his eyes. How did his life become this? When did success start feeling like a prison? A small tap on the window made him open his eyes. At first he thought he'd imagined it, but then it came again. Tap, tap, tap. Quiet but persistent. He pressed the button to lower the window just a crack, expecting to see a valet or maybe a homeless person asking for money. Instead, he found himself looking down at a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 7 or 8 years old. Her black hair was plastered to her face from the rain, and her clothes looked like they'd been worn too many times and washed even more. She was holding something in her hands, but Alexander couldn't quite see what it was in the dim light. "We're closed," he said automatically, though that didn't make any sense. She wasn't selling anything, was she? The little girl didn't move. She just looked up at him with these huge brown eyes that seemed far too serious for someone her age. "I have a deal for you," she said. Her voice was small but steady. Alexander blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "A business deal," she continued, as if this was perfectly normal. "My mom says you're supposed to talk about business deals when both people need something." Despite himself, Alexander felt a flicker of curiosity. He lowered the window a bit more. "And what exactly do you think I need?" The girl glanced back toward the gala entrance, then at the fancy car, then back at Alexander. "You're sitting alone in your car instead of being at the party. And you look sad. My mom looks like that too sometimes when she thinks I'm not watching." Alexander felt something twist in his chest. He wasn't used to people seeing through him so easily. "That doesn't answer my question." The girl took a deep breath like she was gathering courage. Then she said the words that would change everything. "You need a wife and I need a dad." For a long moment, Alexander just stared at her. Rain drummed on the roof of the car. Somewhere in the distance, he could hear music from the gala. But in this moment, the world seemed to have narrowed down to just him and this strange, soaking wet child, making the most absurd proposal he'd ever heard. What? "I heard those people talking when I was waiting for my mom," the girl explained. She pointed toward the service entrance. "They said the man in the fancy car needs to find a wife or he'll lose his company. That's you, right?" Alexander didn't know whether to laugh or call security. You shouldn't eavesdrop on private conversations. You shouldn't sit in cars looking sad when you could be fixing your problems, she shot back. This time, Alexander did laugh. It surprised him. When was the last time he'd actually laughed? "How old are you?" 7.5. "The half is important, I see. And you think you figured out how to fix my problems?" The girl nodded seriously. She held up what she'd been carrying. It was a wilted flower, probably picked from one of the decorative planters outside the building, and a piece of paper folded into a messy square. "I made you a picture. It's us being a family. You, me, and my mom. Your mom, Alexander repeated slowly. Does she know you're out here proposing to strange men on her behalf? She's working. She cleans the building after parties. She won't be done for hours. The girl's voice got quieter. She's always working. That's why I thought maybe we could help each other. Alexander should have ended this conversation right there. Should have called someone to take this child back inside to her mother. But something made him ask, "What's your name?" Lily Martinez. My mom is Sofia Martinez. She's the best mom in the whole world, but she's really tired all the time. And what makes you think I need help, Lily? Lily tilted her head, studying him with those two wise eyes. Because you have everything, but you're still not happy. And we don't have very much, but we'd be happy if we had someone to take care of us. That's fair, right? Like trading? The simplicity of it almost made sense in a twisted way. Alexander looked at this small girl standing in the rain, trying to negotiate a better life for her mother, and felt something crack in the walls he'd built around himself. Where's your father? He asked quietly. Lily's expression tightened. He left when I was 5. He said being a dad was too hard. He said we were too much trouble. I'm sorry. It's okay. We don't need him. We just need someone who won't leave. She held out the flower and the picture again. Will you at least think about it? Against all logic, Alexander took them. The flower was barely alive, its petals drooping. The picture was drawn in crayon on what looked like the back of a receipt. It showed 3 stick figures holding hands. One wore a tie, one wore a dress, and one small figure in the middle had a huge smile drawn on its face. I can't just marry your mother, Lily. That's not how the world works. Why not? People get married for lots of reasons. My friend Katie's dad married her mom because they both like dogs. You need a wife and my mom needs help. That's better than dogs. It's more complicated than that. Adults always say that. Lily sighed. But then they make everything complicated when it doesn't have to be. Michael appeared then, umbrella in hand and concern on his face. Sir, is everything all right? Alexander looked at his driver, then back at Lily. The smart thing would be to send her inside and forget this ever happened. But he'd built an empire by taking calculated risks, by seeing opportunities others missed, and maybe, just maybe, this ridiculous conversation had planted the seed of an idea. Lily, I need you to take me to your mother. Lily's face lit up. Really? Really? But he held up a finger. I'm not promising anything. I just want to talk. Talking is good, Lily said quickly. She was already turning toward the service entrance. Come on, she'll be on the 3rd floor now. Alexander stepped out of the car and Michael immediately covered him with the umbrella. Sir, are you sure about this? No, Alexander admitted. But when has that ever stopped me? They followed Lily through the rain to a side entrance, down a hallway that smelled of industrial cleaner, and up a flight of concrete stairs. The contrast between this part of the building and the glittering gala halls was jarring. Here, everything was functional and bare. On the 3rd floor, they found a woman pushing a cleaning cart, her back to them as she wiped down windows. She wore simple work clothes and had her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Even from behind, Alexander could see the exhaustion in the way she moved. Mom, Lily called out. The woman spun around, her eyes going wide when she saw her daughter. Then wider when she saw Alexander in his expensive suit and Michael with his umbrella standing in her maintenance hallway. Lily Maria Martinez, what did you do? Her voice was sharp with worry and embarrassment. I found us a solution, Lily announced proudly. Sofia Martinez looked at Alexander, and he found himself looking back at a woman who was probably in her early 30s but looked older from tiredness. She had the same brown eyes as her daughter, but where Lily's were full of hope, Sofia's were guarded and wary. I am so sorry, Sofia said immediately. Whatever she said, whatever she did, I apologize. Lily, get over here right now. Mrs. Martinez, Alexander started. It's Ms. Martinez, she corrected quietly. And please just tell me what my daughter did so I can fix it. She made me a business proposition. Sofia closed her eyes like she was praying for patience. Of course she did. Lily, I've told you 1,000 times you cannot bother people. Especially not people like... She gestured at Alexander's obviously expensive appearance. But Mom, he needs... Lily, enough. The command in Sofia's voice made even Alexander straighten up. Lily went quiet, but she didn't look sorry. Alexander found himself in the strange position of not knowing quite what to say. He'd negotiated billion-dollar deals without breaking a sweat. He'd faced down hostile boardrooms and cutthroat competitors. but this tired woman in a cleaning uniform made him feel oddly off balance. "Your daughter seems to think I need a wife," he said finally. Sophia's face went pale, then flushed red. "Oh my God, Lily, no. No, no, no." She looked at Alexander with horror. "Sir, I swear to you I didn't put her up to this. I didn't even know she was listening to anything. Please, I need this job. I have 2 other jobs, but I need all 3, and if she's gotten me fired—" "I'm not going to get you fired," Alexander interrupted. "I'm actually here because I think we should talk." Sophia stared at him. "Talk about what?" "About your daughter's proposition. You can't be serious. I'm always serious about business. And this is business, isn't it?" Alexander glanced at Lily, who was watching them both with barely contained excitement. "Your daughter is right about one thing. I do need to get married for business reasons. And from what she tells me, you could use some financial stability." Sophia's expression hardened. "I don't need charity. I'm not offering charity. I'm suggesting a mutually beneficial arrangement." "An arrangement," Sophia repeated slowly. "You want to arrange a marriage with me, a woman you met 5 minutes ago in a maintenance hallway. I've made bigger decisions on less information." "Well, I haven't." Sophia crossed her arms. "Thank you for not getting me fired, but we're fine. Lily, apologize to the man and let's get back to work." "But Mom—" "Now, Lily." Alexander should have left it there, should have nodded and walked away and forgotten this whole strange evening. Instead, he heard himself say, "What if I paid for her medical care?" Sophia froze. "What?" "Your daughter mentioned she needed medication. I'm guessing it's expensive if you're working 3 jobs." "How dare you?" Sophia's voice was low and shaking. "You don't know anything about us. You don't get to come in here and—" "Mom has a heart condition," Lily blurted out. "I mean, I have a heart condition. The doctor says it's not too bad, but the medicine costs a lot and sometimes Mom cries when she looks at the bills." "Lily," Sophia's voice cracked. Alexander looked at Sophia and saw past the anger to the fear underneath. The fear of a mother who was drowning and too proud to ask for a life raft. "1 year," he said quietly. "A marriage of convenience for 1 year. I'll take care of all medical expenses, housing, anything you need. In return, you play the role of my wife in public. After 1 year, we divorce quietly, and you'll receive a settlement that will set you up for life. Your daughter gets the care she needs, and I satisfy my board's requirements." "That's insane," Sophia whispered. "Yes," Alexander agreed. "It absolutely is, but it would solve both our problems." Sophia looked at Lily, who was practically vibrating with hope. Then she looked down at her cleaning cart, at her rough hands, at her life that was slipping away one exhausted day at a time. "I need to think about it," she finally said. Alexander pulled out a business card and held it out. Sophia took it like it might bite her. "You have 24 hours, he said. "After that, the offer expires." He turned to leave, then paused. "For what it's worth, your daughter is very brave. You should be proud." Sophia didn't answer. She just stood there holding his card, looking like her world had just tilted sideways. As Alexander and Michael walked back to the car, Michael finally spoke. "Sir, forgive me, but have you lost your mind?" Alexander looked down at the wilted flower and crayon drawing still in his hand, at 3 stick figures holding hands, at a solution so crazy it might actually work. "Possibly," he admitted, "but I've built my entire career on taking risks no one else would take. This isn't a business deal, sir. This is people's lives." "I know." Alexander climbed back into the car. "That's what makes it terrifying." Back in the hallway, Sophia sat down on her cleaning cart, still holding the business card. Lily sat beside her. "Are you mad?" Lily asked in a small voice. Sophia was quiet for a long moment. Then she pulled her daughter close. "I don't know what I am, baby. I just don't know." But she didn't throw the card away, and 23 hours later, she would make a phone call that would change everything. Sophia made the call on the 23rd hour. Her hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the phone twice before finally pressing the number on Alexander's card. He answered on the second ring. "I was beginning to think you wouldn't call. I have conditions," Sophia said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I'd be disappointed if you didn't." They met the next morning at a cafe far from both their worlds. Alexander arrived in a simple shirt and jeans, clearly trying not to draw attention. Sophia came straight from her morning shift at the diner, still smelling faintly of coffee and bacon grease. "Lily stays in her same school," Sophia said before she even sat down. "I don't care how fancy your neighborhood is. She's happy there. She has friends there, and I won't disrupt her life more than necessary. Agreed. I keep working. Maybe not all 3 jobs, but I keep at least one. I'm not going to sit around your house all day like some kind of decoration. Alexander considered this. 1 job. You'll need time to attend events with me, and Lily will need you more present. Fine. 1 job. Sophia's jaw was tight. And we have separate bedrooms. This is business, not anything else. Of course, and when the year is up, we're done. No strings, no complications. You give me what you promised, and we walk away. That's the agreement. Sophia stared at her coffee cup. Why are you really doing this? You could hire an actress or find some socialite who'd jump at the chance. Why say yes to a cleaning woman and her kid? Alexander was quiet for a moment. Because your daughter reminded me of something I'd forgotten. Sometimes the craziest solutions are the honest ones. Every other option felt like just another performance. This at least has the benefit of being mutually beneficial without pretense. Everything about this is pretense. Maybe. But at least we're both going into it with open eyes. Sophia finally looked up at him. Really looked at him. In the daylight, without the expensive suit and the limousine, he looked more human. Tired like her. Lonely like her. If you hurt my daughter, business arrangement or not, I will make you regret it. I believe you. And somehow, Alexander found that reassuring rather than threatening. They signed papers the following week. Not the marriage certificate yet, but contracts. Thick stacks of legal documents that made Sophia's head spin. Alexander's lawyer, a stern woman named Patricia, walked her through every clause. You're sure about this, Ms. Martinez? Patricia asked quietly when Alexander stepped out to take a call. No, Sophia admitted, but I'm sure about taking care of my daughter. That's enough. Moving day came faster than Sophia expected. She told Lily they were moving to a bigger place because Mommy got a new job. It wasn't entirely a lie. Lily didn't need to know the whole truth yet. That conversation would come later. The penthouse was on the 42nd floor of a building downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the entire city. The living room was bigger than their entire old apartment. Everything was white and chrome and glass, beautiful in a cold, untouchable way. I'm going to break something, Sophia whispered as they walked in. Lily's hand tight in hers. Everything can be replaced, Alexander said from behind them. He'd been quiet during the ride-up, watching them take it all in. Lily let go of Sophia's hand and walked slowly into the living room, her eyes huge. Is this really where we're going to live? For a while, yes, Sophia said. Where's my room? Alexander gestured down a hallway. Second door on the left. I had it prepared based on what your mother told me you liked. Lily ran down the hall and Sophia heard her gasp. When Sophia followed, she found her daughter standing in a bedroom that looked like something out of a fairy tale. The walls were painted soft purple. There was a canopy bed with gauzy curtains and an entire bookshelf full of new books. Mom, Lily breathed. Mom, look. Sophia felt her throat tighten. It's beautiful, baby. There's more, Alexander said quietly. He pointed to a corner where art supplies were neatly organized, and a small desk with a chair just Lily's size. Lily turned to Alexander with tears in her eyes. This is really mine? It's really yours. Before anyone could react, Lily ran at Alexander and hugged him around the waist. He froze, his arms going up awkwardly like he didn't know what to do with them. Sophia watched something like panic flash across his face. Thank you, Lily said, her voice muffled against his shirt. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Slowly, carefully, Alexander lowered his arms and patted Lily's back. It was the most uncomfortable pat Sophia had ever seen, but it was genuine. You're welcome. That first week was strange. Alexander left early for work and came home late. Sophia spent her days trying to figure out how to work the complicated coffee machine, getting Lily to and from school, and feeling completely out of place in the enormous apartment. She kept expecting someone to show up and tell her this was all a mistake. At night, she could hear Alexander in his study, still working. The man never seemed to stop. On the third night, she made 2 cups of tea and knocked on his door. Come in. He looked surprised to see her. His desk was covered in papers and his computer showed multiple spreadsheets open. You need to sleep, Sophia said, putting the tea down near him. I will. Soon. That's what you said last night. Alexander leaned back in his chair, rubbing his eyes. Old habits. I've been running on 4 hours of sleep for the last 10 years. That's not healthy. Neither is working 3 jobs, but you did it. I had to. You don't I? Alexander picked up the tea, wrapping his hands around the warm mug. My company is my life, Sophia. It's all I have. You have a fake wife and a fake daughter now, Sophia said, then winced. Sorry, that came out wrong, but Alexander smiled. It was small and sad, but it was real. No, you're right. That's exactly what I have. Sophia sat down in the chair across from him. Why don't you have anyone real? A man like you? Successful, not terrible looking when you're not frowning. Was that a compliment? Don't let it go to your head. Alexander's smile faded. I was engaged once. 7 years ago. Her name was Rachel. She was smart, ambitious, everything I thought I wanted. Then my company hit a rough patch and suddenly, she wasn't so sure about me anymore. She left 3 weeks before the wedding. I'm sorry. Don't be. She did me a favor. Showed me that people are only around when things are easy. Business is cleaner. Contracts don't leave you. They also don't keep you warm at night. No. Alexander agreed quietly. They don't. They sat in silence for a moment, two lonely people pretending to be something they weren't. This is going to be harder than we thought, isn't it? Sophia finally said, Probably. The real test came when Alexander announced they needed to attend a company dinner. Important investors would be there, people who needed to meet his new family. Sophia felt sick all day thinking about it. I don't have anything to wear to something like that, she told Alexander the morning of the event. He handed her a credit card. Buy whatever you need. Take Lily with you, make a day of it. Sophia stared at the card like it was a snake. I can't just spend your money. It's part of the arrangement. You need to look the part. I don't know how to look the part. I don't know anything about your world. Alexander's expression softened. Neither did I once. I grew up in a one-bedroom apartment with my parents. My father was a janitor. My mother cleaned houses. Everything I am now I built from nothing. So trust me when I say you already know the most important thing. What's that? How to survive. Everything else is just acting. Sophia took Lily shopping and it felt surreal. The stores Alexander's assistant had recommended were places Sophia had only ever walked past. The salespeople treated them like royalty when they saw the credit card. Lily twirled in dress after dress, loving every second. Sophia found something simple and elegant in navy blue, not too flashy but not invisible either. That evening, getting ready in her room, Sophia barely recognized herself in the mirror. The dress fit perfectly. Her hair, which she'd learned to style from a YouTube video, actually looked sophisticated. She'd borrowed some jewelry from a set Alexander had sent to her room. There was a knock on her door. Sophia, we need to leave in 10 minutes. She opened the door and found Alexander in a dark suit looking every bit the powerful CEO. He froze when he saw her. Will this work? Sophia asked, suddenly self-conscious. You look... Alexander seemed to struggle for words. Yes, that will work. Lily appeared from her room where the babysitter was already setting up for the evening. Mom, you look like a princess. Just playing dress-up, baby. Sophia kissed her daughter's head. Be good for Mrs. Chen, okay? I will. Have fun at your fancy party. The car ride to the restaurant was tense. Alexander kept checking his phone, his jaw tight. Are you okay? Sophia asked. I'm fine, just some of these people can be difficult. They'll ask questions, try to catch inconsistencies in our story. We need to be convincing. What's our story? We met at a charity event 6 months ago. You were volunteering. We started talking, and I was drawn to your genuine nature, so different from the people in my usual circles. We kept it quiet because I wanted to be sure before going public. Sophia nodded, committing it to memory. And Lily? From your previous marriage. You were young, it didn't work out, he's not in the picture. I care about her as much as I care about you. The way he said it, so businesslike, reminded Sophia this was all just a performance. She needed to remember that. The restaurant was the kind of place where they probably charged $50 for a salad. Everyone was dressed impeccably, dripping with expensive jewelry and false smiles. Sophia felt like an imposter. Alexander's hand touched the small of her back, gentle but firm. Breathe. You belong here as much as anyone. A tall woman in red approached them immediately, her smile sharp. Alexander. Finally decided to join civilization and bring a date? Veronica, this is Sophia, my fiancée. Sophia, this is Veronica Huang, one of our board members. Sophia extended her hand, trying to look confident. It's lovely to meet you. Veronica's handshake was firm, her eyes assessing. Fiancé? How sudden. Alexander's always been so private about his personal life. When you know, you know, Alexander said smoothly, his hand still on Sophia's back. And what do you do, Sophia? This was the moment Sophia had been dreading. But Alexander had coached her. I work with a nonprofit supporting single mothers. It's how we met. How charitable, Veronica said, and something in her tone made it sound like an insult. And you have a daughter, I hear? I do. Lily, she's 7. How convenient for Alexander. An instant family. The words hung in the air, sharp and cutting. Sophia felt her face flush, but before she could respond, Alexander stepped forward. Actually, Veronica, it's convenient for me. Sophia could have had her pick of suitors. I'm lucky she chose me. Veronica's smile tightened. Of course. I'm happy for you both. She walked away, and Sophia let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. That was horrible. That was her being nice. Come on, let's get you a drink. The dinner was 3 hours of performing. Sophia smiled until her face hurt. She laughed at jokes she didn't find funny. She answered questions about their relationship with the story they'd rehearsed, watching Alexander do the same. He was good at this, she realized. He could shift his entire personality depending on who he was talking to. The devoted fiancé, the shrewd businessman, the charming host. But there were moments when the mask slipped. When an older man made a comment about trading up to a younger model, Alexander's hand tightened on his glass. When someone asked invasive questions about Sophia's past, his jaw clenched. He was protective, even if this was all fake. On the drive home, they were both exhausted. Sophia had kicked off her heels the moment they got in the car. You did well, Alexander said quietly. I felt like a fraud. Everyone in that room is a fraud. You're just honest about it. Sophia looked at him. Do you ever get tired of pretending? Every single day. When they got home, Mrs. Chen reported that Lily had been an angel and was fast asleep. Sophia checked on her daughter, finding her curled up in the big canopy bed, looking tiny and peaceful. She found Alexander in the kitchen, loosening his tie and staring at nothing. I need to tell you something, Sophia said. He looked up, concerned. What's wrong? Lily's medication. It's not just expensive. The doctor said she might need surgery eventually. Her heart condition, it's manageable now, but as she grows... Sophia's voice cracked. That's the real reason I said yes to this. Not the money for bills or an easier life. If she needs surgery, I could never afford it. And if something happened to her because I was too proud to accept help? Alexander crossed the kitchen and, surprising both of them, put his hand on her shoulder. She'll have the surgery if she needs it. The best doctors, the best care. That's a promise, not part of the contract. Sophia felt tears spill over. Why are you being kind? This would be easier if you were just the cold businessman. I'm not kind, Alexander said quietly. I'm selfish. Because watching you with your daughter, seeing how much you love her, it reminds me what I'm missing. What I've always been missing. They stood there in the quiet kitchen, 2 people playing house, both wondering when the pretending would start to feel real. In her room, Lily was awake. She'd heard them come home and had crept to her door to listen. She smiled to herself in the dark. Her plan was working. Now she just needed to help them see what she already knew. Sometimes grown-ups needed a little girl to show them how to be a family. The next morning, everything changed. Alexander came down to breakfast, something he never did. Lily was eating cereal, and Sophia was making coffee, still in her pajamas. I thought we could have breakfast together, Alexander said awkwardly. If that's okay. Lily's face lit up. Really? Can you help me with my math homework after? Mom's not good at the hard stuff. I'm okay at math, Sophia protested. Mom, you used your fingers to count last week. Alexander actually laughed. A real genuine laugh. I think I can help with math. And just like that, slowly and without meaning to, they started becoming something more than an arrangement. They started becoming something that almost felt like a family. 3 months passed faster than Sophia expected. The strange arrangement slowly became routine. Alexander started coming home earlier, usually in time for dinner. Lily would run to the door when she heard his key in the lock, chattering about her day at school. And Alexander, the man who'd once frozen at a simple hug, now lifted her up and asked questions about her spelling tests and playground drama. Sophia watched it happen gradually. The way Alexander's shoulders would relax when he walked through the door, How he'd started keeping a chess set in the living room so he could teach Lily to play. The way he remembered that Lily liked her sandwiches cut diagonally and that Sophia took her coffee with too much sugar. It terrified her. "You're catching feelings," her friend Maya said one afternoon. They were having coffee at their old neighborhood cafe, one of the few pieces of Sophia's real life she'd held on to. "I am not. Sophia, you just spent 10 minutes telling me about how he stayed up all night helping Lily build a solar system model for school. He's good with her. That's all." Maya gave her a look. "And the fact that you smile differently when you talk about him." "That's nothing?" Sophia stirred her coffee, not meeting Maya's eyes. "It doesn't matter what I feel. This ends in 9 months." We both agreed. People change their minds. People like him don't. He's made it clear this is business. But that wasn't entirely true anymore, and Sophia knew it. There were moments, small things that felt like they meant something. The way Alexander had started making her tea without being asked. How his hand would linger on her back when they were at events, even when no one was watching. The night she'd had a nightmare about losing Lily and had found Alexander still awake. And they'd talked until sunrise about fear and loss and all the things they never said out loud. The company retreat forced everything to the surface. "It's mandatory," Alexander explained over breakfast. 3 days at a resort upstate. All the senior staff and their families. The board wants everyone to bond. "Sounds like torture," Sophia said. "It is. But we need to go. All of us." Lily looked up from her cereal. "Will there be a pool?" "Several, I think. Then I'm in." The resort was beautiful in that expensive, carefully manicured way. Their suite had 2 bedrooms and a living area that overlooked a lake. Other families were scattered around the property, all of them looking like they belonged in a magazine spread. The first day was fine. There were team-building exercises that made Alexander look like he wanted to die. A barbecue where Lily made friends with another CEO's daughter. Sophia found herself talking to other wives. Women who seemed genuinely kind despite their designer clothes and casual mentions of vacation homes. Then, on the second evening, she arrived. Sophia was getting ready for the formal dinner when Alexander came into her room, his face tense. "I need to tell you something." "What's wrong?" "My ex-girlfriend is here, Rachel. She's engaged to one of the board members now." "I didn't know she'd be coming." Sophia's stomach dropped. "The one who left you before the wedding?" "Yes. Does she know about us?" "Everyone knows about us. That's probably why she's here." At dinner, Sophia spotted her immediately. Rachel was stunning in a way that made Sophia feel invisible. Tall, elegant, with perfect posture and the kind of confidence that came from never doubting your place in the world. She was sitting with Gregory Thorne, a silver-haired board member who had to be at least 20 years older than her. "That's her," Sophia whispered to Alexander. "Don't let her intimidate you." Easy for you to say. But Rachel didn't approach them during dinner. She just watched, her eyes sharp and assessing. It wasn't until the cocktail hour afterward that she made her move. Sophia was alone for a moment, Alexander having gone to get them drinks, when Rachel appeared beside her. "You must be Sophia. I've heard so much about you." Up close, she was even more perfect. Sophia forced a smile. "And you're Rachel. Alexander told you about me." "How sweet." Rachel's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I have to say, I was surprised when I heard about you two." Alexander's always been so particular about who he lets into his life. I guess he makes exceptions. Or compromises. Rachel took a sip of her wine. "Don't get me wrong, it's lovely that he's playing house with you and your daughter. Very philanthropic of him." Sophia felt her face flush. "It's not like that, isn't it? Come on, we're both adults here. You're not exactly from his world, are you? The cleaning woman who caught the billionaire." "It's quite a story. You don't know anything about us. I know Alexander. I know he doesn't do anything without a reason. And I know that whatever this is, it won't last." Rachel leaned in closer. "He's incapable of real connection. That's why I left. He'll never let anyone actually in. You're just a placeholder until he finds someone suitable." Before Sophia could respond, Alexander returned with their drinks. His eyes went cold when he saw Rachel. "Rachel, I see you've met Sophia. Just getting acquainted." Rachel's smile was poison sweet. "Congratulations on your engagement. I hope you'll be very happy." She walked away, leaving Sophia shaking with anger and something worse. "Doubt. What did she say to you?" Alexander asked quietly. "Nothing that matters." But it did matter. For the rest of the evening, Sophia couldn't shake Rachel's words. She watched Alexander work the room, charming and distant in that way he had with business associates. She saw how easily he wore the mask, how naturally the performance came to him. What if Rachel was right? What if all of this was just another business strategy, and Sophia was foolish for thinking it had become something real? That night she couldn't sleep. She stood on the balcony of their suite looking out at the dark lake when Alexander found her. "You should be asleep. So should you." He stood beside her, quiet for a long moment. "Rachel got to you. She said you were incapable of real connection, that I'm just temporary. And you believed her?" Sophia turned to face him. "Should I? Because sometimes I look at you and I see someone who cares, who makes my daughter laugh and who stays up helping with homework and who remembers how I take my coffee. But then I remember this is all an arrangement with an end date and I don't know what's real anymore." Alexander's jaw tightened. "You want to know what's real? Rachel left me when things got hard. She saw my company struggling and decided I wasn't worth the risk. I built everything back up alone and I swore I'd never need anyone again. Then your daughter knocked on my car window and turned my entire life upside down. That doesn't answer my question." "Because I don't have a good answer." Alexander's voice rose then dropped. "I don't know what this is, Sophia. I don't know how to separate what's part of the arrangement from what's become something else. All I know is that I come home now and it doesn't feel empty anymore. I know that hearing Lily laugh makes me happy in a way nothing else does. And I know that the thought of you and her leaving in 9 months makes me feel like I'm losing something I didn't even know I needed." Sophia stared at him. "Alexander, I'm not good at this. At feelings and vulnerability and all the things normal people seem to understand naturally. Rachel was right about that. But she was wrong about you being temporary. You're the most permanent thing in my life right now, and that terrifies me." Before Sophia could think better of it, she closed the distance between them, not touching, just close enough that she could see the fear in his eyes. Matched her own. "This wasn't supposed to happen," she whispered. No, we had rules, I know. This is going to get complicated. It already is." They stood there on the balcony, the space between them charged with all the things they couldn't say. Then Alexander did something he'd never done before. He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind Sophia's ear, his hand lingering on her cheek. "I don't know how to do this," he said quietly. "Any of this. But I don't want to go back to pretending anymore." Sophia's heart was pounding. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe we stop thinking about the contract and the timeline and just see what this is. No more pretending it's just business. And in 9 months? Maybe we don't have to think about 9 months. Maybe we just think about tomorrow." Sophia knew this was dangerous. Knew she should step back, remind him of their agreement, protect her heart and Lily's. But standing there with his hand on her face and honesty in his eyes, she couldn't make herself do it. "Okay," she whispered. "Tomorrow." The next morning brought a new crisis that put everything else in perspective. Lily woke up complaining that her chest felt tight. Sophia immediately recognized the signs. They'd had scares before, but never this far from their regular doctor. "We need to get her to a hospital," Sophia said, trying to keep the panic out of her voice. Alexander was already on his phone, making calls. Within 20 minutes, they were in a car heading to the nearest medical center. Within an hour, Lily was hooked up to monitors while a cardiologist examined her. Sophia sat in a plastic chair, her hand gripping Lily's, trying not to fall apart. Alexander stood by the window, his own fear barely contained. "It's an arrhythmia episode," the doctor finally explained. "Her heart rhythm is irregular. We've got her stabilized, but this is a warning sign. Her condition is progressing. I'd recommend you see a pediatric cardiac specialist as soon as possible." After the doctor left, Sophia finally let herself cry. All the fear she'd been holding back came pouring out. Alexander crossed the room and did something that would have been unthinkable 3 months ago. He pulled her into his arms and held her while she shook. "She's going to be okay," he murmured. "I promise you she's going to be okay. You can't promise that. Watch me. I'll hire the best doctors in the country. We'll get her whatever she needs." Sophia pulled back to look at him. "This isn't part of the contract." "To hell with the contract. This is Lily. This is family." The word hung in the air between them, family. Not fake family. Not temporary family. Just family. Lily recovered quickly once her medication was adjusted, but the scare changed something fundamental. That night, back at the resort, the three of them sat together in the suite. Lily was curled up between Sophia and Alexander on the couch, watching a movie she'd seen a dozen times. "Can I ask you something?" Lily said during a commercial break. "Of course, sweetheart," Sophia said. "Are you and Alexander going to get married for real? Not just for pretend?" Sophia and Alexander looked at each other over Lily's head. They hadn't told her the truth about the arrangement, had tried to keep her innocent of the business side of things. "What makes you think it's pretend?" Alexander asked carefully. Lily rolled her eyes in that way only 7-year-olds can. "I'm not dumb. I heard you guys talking about contracts and arrangements. But that was before you got all mushy with each other." "Mushy?" Sophia couldn't help but smile. "You know, the way you look at each other, when you think I'm not watching. The way Alexander fixes your coffee in the morning now. The way Mom laughs at your jokes even when they're not funny." "My jokes are hilarious," Alexander protested. "They're really not," Sophia and Lily said at the same time, then laughed. Lily sat up, looking between them seriously. "I just want to know if you're going to stay together. Because I don't want another dad who leaves." Sophia's heart broke. "Baby, I love Alexander," Lily said simply. "And I think he loves us too. He just doesn't know how to say it because he's scared. Like I was scared of the dark until you gave me a nightlight." Alexander looked stunned. "Lily, It's okay if you're scared," Lily said, taking his hand. "Mom was scared too when we first came here. But we're not scary. We're just us. And us is pretty great." Sophia watched tears gather in Alexander's eyes. She'd never seen him cry before. "You're right," Alexander said, his voice rough. "You are pretty great. Both of you. So you'll stay?" Lily asked hopefully. Alexander looked at Sophia, a question in his eyes. She saw everything there. The fear, the hope, the possibility of something real. She thought about Rachel's words, about the contract, about all the reasons this shouldn't work. Then she thought about the man who'd stayed up all night building solar systems, who'd dropped everything when Lily was sick, who looked at her daughter like she hung the moon. Sophia nodded slowly. "If he wants to stay, I want to stay," Alexander said immediately. "I've never wanted anything more." Lily threw her arms around both of them. "Finally, you guys took forever." They sat there tangled together on the couch, and it felt nothing like an arrangement. It felt like coming home. Later that night, after Lily was asleep, Sophia and Alexander stood in the doorway of her room, watching her breathe steadily. "She's going to need that surgery," Sophia said quietly. "Probably in the next year. Then we'll do it. Together." "Together," Sophia repeated, testing the word. Alexander took her hand, threading his fingers through hers. "I know we started this as a business deal, and I know I'm probably doing this all wrong, but I don't want to lose you when the year is up." "Either of you? What are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe we tear up the contract. Maybe we try this for real. No end date, no arrangement. Just us figuring it out as we go." Sophia squeezed his hand. "That's terrifying. I know. I'm going to mess things up. I don't know how to be in your world. And I don't know how to be in a family. But maybe that's okay. Maybe we learn together." Sophia turned to face him fully, their hands still linked. "No more pretending?" "No more pretending. Even though it's scary? Especially because it's scary." This time when they stood close, neither of them pulled away. Tomorrow they'd have to figure out what this meant, how to navigate the change from arrangement to real relationship. Tomorrow they'd have to tell lawyers and deal with questions and face whatever came next. But tonight, they just stood in the doorway of a little girl's room, holding hands like teenagers, and let themselves hope that maybe, just maybe, the craziest business deal either of them had ever made was turning into the best decision of their lives. In her sleep, Lily smiled. Her plan had worked even better than she'd hoped. Grown-ups just needed a little push sometimes, and maybe, just maybe, they'd all get their happy ending after all. The decision to make things real should have made everything easier. Instead, it made everything more complicated. Alexander scheduled a meeting with Patricia, his lawyer, first thing Monday morning. Sophia came with him, both of them nervous in a way they hadn't been when signing the original contract. "You want to dissolve the arrangement?" Patricia asked, looking between them over her reading glasses. "We want to make it real," Alexander said. "No contract, no timeline. An actual marriage." Patricia leaned back in her chair. "I see, and you understand this changes everything legally? The protections built into the original agreement, the financial terms, the exit clauses, all of that goes away." "I understand," Sophia said quietly. Do you? 'Cause forgive me for being blunt, Ms. Martinez, but that original contract heavily favored you. You were guaranteed a substantial settlement regardless of how things ended. If you do this, if you actually marry him without that agreement, you're entitled to nothing unless you stay married or negotiate a fair divorce settlement later. I don't want his money, Sophia said. I never did. I wanted security for my daughter. Now I want this, whatever this is. Patricia looked at Alexander. And you're sure about this? Once we tear up that contract, there's no going back to the original terms. I'm sure. Patricia was quiet for a moment, then she did something unexpected. She smiled. In 20 years of being Alexander's lawyer, I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. Ms. Martinez, so, against my better judgment as an attorney, I'm going to say congratulations. They tore up the contract that afternoon. Literally. Alexander and Sophia stood in his office and ripped the thick document into pieces, watching them fall like confetti. It should have felt liberating. Instead, Sophia felt terrified. What if we're making a mistake? She asked that night. They were in the kitchen, Alexander making them tea while Sophia sat at the counter. Lily was asleep and the apartment was quiet. Then we'll make it together. That's not comforting. Alexander set the tea in front of her and stayed close, his hand resting on the counter beside hers. I don't have all the answers, Sophia. I've never done this before. Real relationships, real feelings, any of it. I'm probably going to mess up, probably. Definitely, he almost smiled. But I'd rather mess up trying than go back to being alone. Sophia wrapped her hands around the warm mug. Your world is going to eat us alive when they find out. Rachel was just the beginning. People are going to say I trapped you, that I'm using you, that Lily and I don't belong. Let them talk. Easy for you to say. You're used to this. I'm not used to caring what they think. But I care now because it affects you. Alexander finally took her hand. We don't have to announce anything yet. We can take this slow. Slow would be good. But the universe had other plans. The article appeared 3 days later. Some gossip blogger had gotten wind of the original arrangement. Sophia didn't know how, didn't know who'd leaked it. But suddenly their private business was splashed across the internet. Billionaire CEO's fake marriage exposed, the cleaning woman and the contract. The article had everything. Details about how they'd met, about the original agreement, even quotes from anonymous sources claiming the whole thing was a scam. It painted Alexander as manipulative and Sophia as a gold digger who'd used her daughter to trap a wealthy man. Sophia's phone started ringing at 6 a.m. Reporters outside the building. Messages from people she hadn't talked to in years, some supportive, most judgmental. Her old co-workers from the cleaning company, parents from Lily's school. Everyone wanted to know if it was true. Alexander's office was in crisis mode. The board called an emergency meeting. Investors were worried about the scandal affecting the company's image. The very thing the marriage was supposed to fix was now destroying everything. I should leave, Sophia said when Alexander came home that afternoon. He looked exhausted, his tie loose and his hair messy from running his hands through it. What? This is my fault. If I leave, if I take Lily and go, the story dies down. You can say it was all a misunderstanding, that I manipulated you. Whatever you need to say to fix this. Alexander crossed the room so fast it startled her. Don't you dare. Your company, I don't care about the company. Yes, you do. It's your whole life. It was my whole life. Alexander's voice cracked. Before you, before Lily, it was all I had. Now it's just a company. Just money and buildings and numbers on a screen. You're my life now. Both of you. And I'm not losing that because some tabloid decided to run a story. Sophia felt tears burning her eyes. They're going to destroy us. Then let them try. Alexander took her face in his hands. I've faced hostile takeovers and market crashes and competitors who wanted to see me fail. I built an empire from nothing because I refused to give up. You think I'm going to give up on this, on us? The board might force you out. Let them. Alexander, be realistic. I am being realistic. For the first time in my life, I'm seeing clearly. None of it matters without you. Before Sophia could respond, Lily appeared in the doorway. Her face was tear-streaked and she was holding her table.